Hey guys, welcome to the Save Continue podcast, where we get together and talk about video games and video game related stuff. As always, I'm Shanae Howard, and with me is Thomas Shelby
Hello.
and Ryan Robinson.
Hi.
So, hi, how have y'all been? What have y'all been playing?
Been good. Been mostly playing DJ Maxx still. I finished the season pass today, and I think it's the first time I've finished one of those, like a battle pass or a season pass or anything like that. So that was nice. But now I'm like, well, when's the next one going to come out? Because this one still got 30 days left on it.
Oh,
But, still playing a lot of that. I started up, I've played like maybe an hour and a half of Evil West. And it's fun so far. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Warhammer 40K Space Marine. Like they're very, very similar in the way that they play.
So
But
give me a little rundown of this game because I've seen the trailer, but I don't really
yeah,
have an idea of how it plays.
yeah. I mean, both of those games are like very linear, and it's just one combat encounter to the next. Like that's all it is. There's no puzzles or anything. It's just like fight a bunch. There's like melee, but also third person shooting. It's fun. People are comparing it to the combat from God of War 2018, which I don't really know about because I didn't play that game.
Mm-hmm.
People are saying it's like that, but with third person shooting. And there's definitely like incentive to like people also compare it to Doom and with like the whole push forward combat thing where like you're incentivized to kill quickly and be aggressive with it. I'd say that's true. The story is ridiculous and it feels like a B movie, but like it's very, very fun to play so far. Now, will it be fun after fucking 5 hours? I don't know, but so far I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but really, DJ Maxx has eaten up the majority of my time.
a similar issue with Marvel Snap. What like because I've got because the season there's like a weekly thing going on, or it's about to be over, but I have like completed all the missions for it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I was about to finish it. I just assumed that once I finished chapter 4, that the chapter 5 or whatever was just going to keep going and show up.
Oh
And,
no.
and I was like, oh. So I'm just now waiting
Right.
for the new thing to. But luckily, it's only like a day and not 30 days.
I mean, here's the thing. I can still play the game all I want. And I just, like, there's really no reason for me to even do this season pass. I just did it because, I don't know, I just bought the game and I was excited, so I paid for that too.
Right.
But,
Very
like,
good reason.
it doesn't get me anything. Like, it doesn't get me new songs. It's just new skins and shit. Like, I don't really care about that, especially with a rhythm game. Um, so, I don't know. I'll see what the next one has to offer, but I probably will sit it out.
Uh, so I have been playing a new game.
Save room.
So, I did play Save Room, and I finished it. Berto actually walked by and was like, "What are you playing?" And I was like, "Oh, this
It
is."
said Resident Evil.
I was like, "This is literally just the inventory management system for Resident Evil turned into a game."
Yeah.
And like because that's not his jam, he just goes, "Huh? So that's a thing."
Real interesting.
But yeah, he's been playing. So I mentioned it before, but I couldn't remember the name of it. So on his birthday, Marvel Midnight Suns came out.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been playing that a lot.
I've been eyeballing it.
He took the day off, so like he was explaining some of this stuff to me, and he said that in some ways, because he was explaining it to me, and he said in some ways it made him think of Fire Emblem Three Houses, because he's actually played that, like a
I
little
can see
bit of
that.
it. But it's just because it's like on a daily counter system. But I feel like it sounds more like Persona when it comes to like collecting like monster card things to like do
That's
stuff.
the part that gets me, right? Because like I know it's for Axis, and I liked XCOM, but like I don't know about the whole card system thing.
Like, be really enjoying it, and he like he's I don't know, like, that's not normally, like, the gameplay he likes. He likes very competitive, like, fast-paced stuff.
Sure.
So, for, like, the most part, when it comes to his games and he wants but he is, like so it starts you off on, like, a normal difficulty, and he normally starts like, plays every game at the hardest difficulty on there because
He's a
he
badass.
he needs to feel like a badass.
Sure.
Well,
Uh,
he is one, so
remind himself that he's cool. So, like, you couldn't change it to hard mode in the beginning of the game, and he just got real pouty about it because he's also been playing Cyberpunk, as well when he's not playing, like, his online games, and he can't like, even though you can change the difficulty at any point in Cyberpunk, that's not okay for him. There's literally no change in, like, rewards or anything like that, but he has to restart the whole game and start off at the hardest difficulty.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because he started that one, like, not at the hardest because he's like, "Oh, well, like, I don't know really know what this is gonna be like or how hard." He's like, "So I just wanna enjoy the story and kinda get my footing." And then, yeah.
And now, like, how far did he get before he decided to start over?
I know at least more than 10 hours.
Damn, dude.
No,
Fuck that.
he'll be like, he'll put in, like, 40 hours into a game and restart
Yeah.
it. Like, he has no shame
I
at it.
want you to hand him a game like DJ Maxx where like there's no way you can start on the hardest difficulty, you know?
Oh, but yeah, the ones I don't know, he'll be fine to restart it. Like,
Yeah.
he even, like, told me, he's like, "Yeah, I pulled a Birdo." I was like, "You started the game?"
That's funny.
But I have been playing, Pokemon Arceus. So, I've been really looking at Scarlet
Arceus.
Arceus, whatever. I don't know. Everyone's been saying Arceus.
No, dude. Official from Nintendo, it's Arceus. And it's the dumbest reason. Like, it was Arceus, and then they realized that some Europeans would make fun of that name.
Is it Arce? Yeah.
Yeah, so they changed it. Like, canonically, it's Arceus now.
They can go get
Isn't
fucked.
that hilarious? I think that's fucking funny as shit.
Yeah, but I'm still gonna call it Arceus. So,
Sure.
but yeah, so I've been playing that, and I made the joke that this is the game I'm playing the next 5 months. And I've seen like people that are really salty about Scarlet and Violet and the issues that it's like came out with that launch. I think it was like yesterday or the day before they put out a patch. I haven't like looked too much to see how much that improved anybody's like issues. But people are like, oh, like Arceus is the better game right now until they fix Scarlet and Violet. So I'm playing it, and I don't know. Because it's like focused on catch 'em all, which I was like, all right, cool, I like that. But like, I gotta do all these missions to like complete the Pokédex thing. And
Yeah.
I just like don't give a fuck about some of these Pokemon. I don't give a fuck about Wurmple. I don't care about Starly. I know everyone makes the jokes. I don't care about Bidoof. Like I don't.
Then just
And
beat the game.
yeah, just beat the game. Be done with it.
but I wanna beat all these requests and get these people in the village to like me because I'm just
Clearly, you don't.
like I'm doing it, but I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
Like I know we're like, oh, if the game's not fun, stop playing it. But like I'm doing it. I'm just not happy about it. And
Sure. Sure.
Does the
so I
game
don't know.
feel like
I don't
work
know.
at this point, or are you still having fun?
What do you mean? Oh, does he say it feels like work?
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, I'm like at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I'm at like an hour and a half, 2 hours in.
Yeah.
Like including like all the tutorial time and stuff like that. So right now it's just it feels very boring and grindy. So that's like so I've just been playing a lot of like videos on the TV, like YouTube videos, and like kind of doing it and like going and finding all the fucking Starly and not startling them so I can catch them and get my points up so I can fill out this fucking Pokédex.
Yeah.
And make this one fucking lady, like Edith, I think is her name, happy. Or she might be the clothes lady. Either way, there's a lady in this village that's gonna be very happy when I figure out everything about the Starly. Um, so I've been playing that. I still haven't finished my last playthrough of Three Hopes, but I'm almost done. It's my third one. Um, what else? I know I've been playing something else. But I can't remember what. Oh, and Marvel Snap.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I play that one.
What about you, Ryan? What have you been playing?
So the kind of the usual Destiny and Final Fantasy. New new season of Destiny starts tomorrow, so I'm looking forward
Nice.
to that and seeing what kind of because there's going to be a lot of changes made to equipment, and there's going to be a new storyline, I presume. So I'm excited to engage with that. Um, New season of Fortnite started yesterday, so I've been playing that.
Rad.
It's probably the most significant change to the game and the map that I've seen since I started playing. So I've been having a lot of fun with it. Um,
How is it on console? Because I've seen like articles talking about the visual improvements to the game
mhm.
and how like no PC players will ever see them
um,
because PC's going to turn them. They're going to turn them all off.
yeah. I mean, it's. I think it looks good.
Yeah.
You
Whereas
know,
like on a console, I'm assuming you can't turn down like foliage and stuff like that.
no, no, you can't.
Right.
Um,
That foliage is there to stay.
but I don't know. I think the game looks good. It like seems to stay at a pretty steady frame rate throughout. Um, I but like I've always thought that game looked really good. In fact, it's like been you know as an aside, it's kind of been one of like my favorite like art styles in games for a while. Um,
Man, I'm like complete opposite. I hate the way it looks. I get why it looks the way it looks, right? When you have
yeah.
all those IP, like you have to do something that you can kind of match them with. But
Hmm.
yeah, I can't stand the way that game looks.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And I don't know. I started the new battle pass. I noticed that the Doom Slayer is at the end of it.
Yeah.
And then uh, I think in like 2 months, Geralt of Rivia is showing up. So I'm looking forward to shooting that guy in the face.
Is it
Um,
gonna be Geralt of Rivia or is it gonna be Henry Cavill?
oh, I
A
mean,
little bit of column A, a little
so
column B.
so here's the thing: is that like I do think I can foresee them
It
having
should be that new actor that's going to play him.
fucking Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah, that'd
Possibly.
be awesome.
Well, I could see them doing like video game Geralt and then putting Henry Cavill Geralt. Because remember, Tom, when in Injustice when they did Superman and then they did Henry Cavill Superman.
Yeah. Well, they already showed the model that they're using for him, and like, it just looks like the characters look
No,
in that art style.
no. I
You
mean,
know?
I know. I'm saying that
Yeah.
like there could be like later on, like in the past, it could be like unlock another one.
Sure. Sure.
Um, so that's been a lot of fun. Also, I've been playing the Callisto Protocol,
I
and
have read mixed reviews on that. How have you been enjoying
Yeah.
it?
I love that game. That game's fucking cool, man.
Have you been having a good experience? I
Yeah.
that is not the experience I've been reading of for everybody online, but I'm glad you've
Same.
enjoyed it because I was a little worried. I was like, I hope Ryan's not disappointed, and I didn't want to text you about it and like if you were disappointed, that just to remind you of your disappointment.
How
Just
you
fucking
like that terrible game?
just fucking block you. Uh no, I like it a lot. I feel like I feel like for the most part the combat feels really good. I really like the story a lot. Um I don't know, I've been really engaged with it. It's one of those it's been a while uh since I've had, you know, such a hard time like putting down a game. But it's been a lot of fun. The combat is like really satisfying. I do have some gripes though. Um I feel like it's weird that there's no quick turn. Um Considering how often I get surrounded by these fucking scallywags in this game. Um I also think that the checkpointing system is kind of ridiculous.
I've heard the same complaint, Ryan.
Um why would here's my thing. Here's my thing. I can understand the logic behind creating a manual save because maybe I want to go 2 checkpoints back. Maybe. I don't know why I would do that, but maybe I want to do that.
Mhm.
So I guess because that seems to be how it works. Like because the manual save is basically the same as your last checkpoint autosave. Um So it's kind of so it gets
So
kind
it's not a real, it's not a traditional quick save. It's just
yeah.
wherever
So
the
like
last checkpoint was.
I guess it's like I said, I guess it's like a way to like create like some kind of rollback state for you to revert back to
Yeah.
if you want to. But the thing is, it's redundant because the game is already doing that.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't understand why they did it that way. So it has caused me to have some frustration as far as like because that I have a lot of like issues with like navigation, especially in survival horror games. So typically I will need a map to get around. But the game doesn't have one. So I find myself pretty frequently wandering around like and passing like the same thing multiple times over the course of 30 minutes. And then like while I'm doing that, I'm also picking up items and like maybe I picked up an upgrade and did some other stuff. But then I finally get to where I want to go, and while there isn't a checkpoint, there's an enemy there, and then the enemy might kill me, and then I'm back to where I was 30 minutes ago. And that's kind of frustrating. That
Yeah.
aside though, I'm having a great time with the game. I really like it.
Right. I wanted to get your input on, because I do plan to play it at some point. Uh, my biggest concern is that I've seen a lot of people compare the dodge to Punch Out. I'm like,
That actually is kind of apt. But
yeah.
there's one difference.
I mean, I
So
like Punch Out. I just don't know that I
so
like it like
the
that, you know?
the difference between this and Punch Out is that in Punch Out the dodge is like you gotta time it, right? You gotta find that rhythm
Right.
and time it. Whereas in this, as long as you're holding one of the two directions, you will dodge. The caveat though is that you can't like if the enemy is like gonna do like a 3-hit combo, right? You
Yeah.
can't dodge in the same direction twice or he will hit you. So you have to switch it
Ah,
up.
I
So
see.
um so it's like
So it's
that.
not like Punch Out.
Yeah. So I mean it is like Punch Out in the same like in that you the inputs for like dodging and blocking are the same,
Okay.
but you don't have to time it, which I think
Mm.
works because I was afraid that because like when I first saw the tutorial window pop up about dodging, I was afraid that there was going to be some like bullshit window that I'd have to
Yeah.
like get it in, and like I can't do it. Like that was my problem with Resident Evil 3 remake is I could not do the dodge, right? So
Oh, I
I'm glad that
like that dodge.
I can't do it. It's cool when you land it, but like it's just too inconsistent for me to have fun with it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like the dodge in this. The only thing about it though is that like it can get kind of tricky if they're like two or three guys trying to hit you at the same time. Um, but more often than not, you'll generally be able to get out of it without taking too much damage. But yeah, Callisto Protocol is pretty fucking cool. I'm excited to see where the story goes. It's also maybe this is I don't know what this says about Callisto Protocol, but it's also making me even more excited about the Dead Space remake.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for was that I think next month, I think.
I
Uh
think is it? Maybe. Yeah, no, I think you're right.
yeah, so really looking forward to
You
that.
think like you think that team like breathed a sigh of relief when Callisto was like started not doing so hot?
Uh I don't know, because I don't know necessarily that they would want that for them, but I
I
do.
know, well, sure, but like they're going after the same market, right? Like,
Yeah.
and like
Well, I see. Here's
not
the thing:
everybody
is
can afford to buy both.
well, I don't think. I think honestly, which is that's a valid point. Not everybody can afford to buy both, but I think that the people who can't afford to buy both are probably just going to hold off for Dead Space anyway.
Yeah.
And I do think that I think that while Callisto Protocol is a good game, I don't think that it would match the anticipation people are probably feeling about that Dead Space remake. I guess myself included, because I'm really fucking excited about that remake.
You see the new preview coverage that came out today?
I did not. I have not looked at this. Is actually the first time I've been on the internet all day today.
Yeah.
um, so I'll probably check that out. But that is that's it.
So, uh, I said that I've been watching videos while I was playing Arceus or Arceus, if I want
Yeah.
to be canonical. But so, like, what are some of the?
You say it how you want, Shanae. I don't give a shit. I just
It's
don't.
tripping me up
They
because
can't
Yeah.
stop. They
I
can't
didn't know
stop you.
I didn't know this, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, my brain won't accept it. But so the videos I've been watching. Originally, I started watching these is predominantly PS1 games like of the series, and I wish I could remember the YouTuber's name. I probably should have looked it up. But it's like a series called Was It Good? And he goes back and he plays them like, hey, is it as good as you remember? And then as I told y'all before the show, it turned into me watching playthroughs of almost all the Harry Potter games, or that's my plan. I I'm up to Order the
Sounds so
Phoenix.
miserable.
I'm up to Order the Phoenix, so I might as well finish
Yeah.
it out. But yeah, so the majority of them have been PS1 and PS2 games. And even though like it's based off like the movie IP, like and I say based off of it loosely. Cause
No,
yeah,
that's what happened in those movies.
I can promise you it's not. I can bet you money that it was not everything.
Oh, Odie
But
Walker played all those games, didn't he? Remember a while back he was playing all the Harry Potter games?
Hello, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So how many of those games did they make on the PS1?
I could not tell you off the top of my head.
Mm.
How much time you got, Ryan?
But so like even with a lot of those, I've been playing a lot of nostalgia about those consoles and those games. And I know that like I see a lot of these things through rose tinted glasses because this is like my childhood and this was amazing to me. So
Yeah.
I hold on to that wonder. But like even with that said, I didn't actually play the Harry Potter games on the PlayStation, because they weren't girl games enough for my family.
Sure.
So a lot of these I'm seeing for the first time, and I'm just like, you know, the gameplay mechanics of this like actually makes sense story wise, like what you're doing, and it's like a really
Mhm.
good way to reuse like the same assets they've already created for the game, in like different ways. And I don't know, I just like I look back and I'm like, oh, I remember playing a game that was like this that had like a similar gameplay, and just like with some of the limitations with the systems and everything, and the fact that like I don't know, it feels a lot of different. Like it feels a lot different, and I was trying to figure out like I why like it those games in general hold a soft spot besides nostalgia because I do think that a lot of them were like and are still genuinely good.
Yeah.
And I was looking up online a couple reasons, and one, and we've talked about on the show, is that like games were cheaper to make, and you didn't need to sell a billion of them to make any profit on making the game. And I don't know, like I mean, Crunch as far as like video game development has like it's not like necessarily a new thing, but like did it just happen less then? Or is it just
No,
because
I mean, look, games were cheaper to make, but they were also made much faster. You know, like
yeah,
it wasn't uncommon for a lot of the dev teams on PlayStation One to be putting out 3 games in a year. You know, which that very rarely happens now. I can think of one instance that's happened this year. You know, and that's like it's very rarely the case. But you know, I don't know, man. Like, I'm sure it existed
head
then.
headcanon theory, at least a couple companies maybe thought this way. Because like the digital wasn't like a thing then, not really.
Yeah.
Like at least for these two consoles. Like you only could carry so much like physical copies as you like in your warehouse when you're shipping them out and like doing that. So I feel like
Yeah.
because of that, there wasn't like a lot of obviously there wasn't as much garbage as there is now. Because now anybody can like basically make games and get them on a lot of platforms, and it's
Yeah, I mean, I
$1
definitely think there's less garbage back then. But you know, like we've talked about this before, right? On a lot of these earlier consoles that might have like a couple thousand games in their library, whereas all the new consoles had a library that dwarfed that within the first few months. You know what I mean? Like there were just less games being made in general. But I don't know. So like yeah, there's less garbage, but there's probably also less good games. Not to say that there's no good games. I fucking love those consoles, but you know.
No, maybe it is all just rose tinted glasses, but I don't. I just feel like there is, besides just the looks of it, the graphics. As far as like the way that they the way that some of the gameplay was, and like the way they told stories, I just feel like had a different flavor to it than it does now.
For sure. I think
And
a big part of it is, especially on PlayStation 1, was like that was kind of uncharted waters at that point, you know? Like PS1 and N64. Uh, so because of that, you saw a lot more creativity, and some of that was really bad, right? But some of it was really fucking awesome. So,
like
I do feel like we saw a lot of experimentation on the PS1, and like I think uh it seems like there were games that were like more out there, and there wasn't like a formula that people were following back then.
yeah.
Um and I think
At
that
least less so, right?
yeah.
obviously more. I mean, it's at least as far as like AAA or like the big
Yeah.
games out there, more original IP because
Yeah.
obviously that's where it started for
And
a lot of these.
I think especially in the PS1's case, this is like a brand new system, right? Like the PlayStation platform is just like it's untested. So I think that like one of the things that you kind of do with a system like that is make games that stand out and make games that are like that have like that really seem like, oh well, this is what PlayStation is about. Like these are like the different games that I'm seeing on PlayStation. I think that had a lot to do with it too.
Yeah.
Your audio got a little bit weird near the end. It sounded like the mic was far away.
Oh,
Oh,
I heard you fine. I don't know.
But also, like, probably should have looked this up. But do y'all know if like how region locking worked with PS1 and PS2? Because when I look at the titles of like games that are on there, a lot of times when I do that, like for other consoles, I guess because of my geolocation, like on my device, like it always just pulls up like mainly like obviously just titles that are like available in North America.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot more like foreign made games when I was like, going through some of the list, and I was
There
like,
was, yeah.
was it not region locked? Can you play like a PS1 game on any PS1?
No. I'm pretty sure it was region locked. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure
uh,
it was region locked.
Okay, so let's listen to the Wonderboy94 on Reddit.com. PS1 is region locked, but unlike
Yeah.
older retro consoles, I think the PS1 consoles across different regions were similarly clocked, so you don't need a physical switch that changes the console operation frequency. All PS1s are supposed to be able to output PAL and NTSC, and obviously you need to display that that can display a PAL signal. So
Right.
it's really more about like it like that frequency between PAL and NTSC. Um, but I do think that and there were and so there was also like I looked this up and there's also like you need a chip to play like a
Yeah.
mod chip to play foreign games. So which I remember that being like a thing that people would like kind of market as well. Like
It still is.
yeah, there was something
Like
that
if you go on Etsy right now, you know, like yeah, it still
that's
is.
something that I would see in like video game magazines back then. It was like people like selling
Yeah.
like mod chips and shit like that. So
Yeah, like so I don't
This
know why.
game, Vib Ribbon, like this didn't come to the States, you know? But like there was so many good games that we didn't get.
Mm,
Like this game's fucking amazing, and like Bishi Bashi Special, like shit like that is like fucking nuts, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. Like I feel like when I got my PS4, right? One of the first things I did was make a, European account and a Japanese account because then you could access those stores, you know? And they had games we didn't have. And sometimes it was good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like I got Puyo Puyo Tetris maybe a year before it came to the States, you know? But like most of the time it's like here's some random rugby game that I'm not gonna want to play, you know, like shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
no,
cool to be able to access that stuff without having to like mod shit and then like
Right.
import a copy of the game from somewhere else, you know?
Agreed.
yeah, because like I know that with PSP, however you could get that to be unregion blocked, because there's ways to like also do that, or like create an account. Because I think it also could be on the PSP Go too, if I'm remembering correctly.
A
But like,
PSP in general was just like notoriously easy to pirate, so yeah, you could play whatever the fuck you wanted on those things.
yeah, like in the Atomi community, like there's a lot of people that's how they ended up making like ROMs, and then like getting other
Yeah,
people to like translate it, because it's never going to come to the United States. Or people would I remember like, because there's one that I really wanted to play, but I couldn't find it anywhere, and like they took pictures with like an old digital camera, and then like translated onto those pictures of like all
yeah,
of it, and it was, you know, I think whoever did that, they probably spent days, if
yeah,
not weeks, doing that. But yeah, no, that's why I was like also kind of confused about the region locking. So I was like, it seemed like it was pretty easy on those handhelds.
yeah. On PSP, extremely easy.
But yeah, so whenever I said that I wanted to talk about PS1 and PS2, what did y'all? What popped in y'all's mind?
I mean, I was
Games.
just psyched because
Yeah.
like I still play a decent amount of PS1 and PS2. You know,
Yeah.
granted, most of it's emulated, but I still play a lot of those games. You
Yeah.
know, Vib Ribbon. Vib Ribbon is an early rhythm game. Uh, and like, what's so cool about it is like the original soundtrack's very interesting, but you can put in whatever CD you want, and it'll make a level based off of whatever songs are on that CD. You know, and like that's so fucking cool. Rhythm games in general, right? Like that starts with Parappa the Rappa on PlayStation One. Um, some people will argue like, well, there's some old NES game that had a mini game that was slightly based on rhythm, you know, but like most people give it to Parappa the Rappa,
Yeah.
and like
That's
I
a
love
famous
that shit.
segment, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. Um, Bishi Bashi Special again, like that's basically multiplayer WarioWare, and it's so good. And it's such a shame that the US never got it. But like, you know, there obviously there's all the obvious ones, right? Everyone loves Symphony of the Night, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy VII, right? Like that list is huge. Um, but there's always like the weird ones that I remember, and you know, you're talking about like, is it still good, right? Like I think about, did you guys ever play like Jersey Devil?
No,
No.
I know what Jersey Devil is. I just
Like I love that game,
yeah.
but I have not played that since it was new, and I'm fairly certain it would be horrible now. You know, Ryan, you and I have talked about that fucking ninja game with that purple ninja on the cover.
Oh, I Ninja. No, wait.
Yeah,
Wait,
no,
wait, no, no,
not
no,
I
no,
Ninja,
no. It's just called Ninja.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I love that game as a kid, but I'm pretty sure it's not great. You know,
Yeah.
but like for every one of those, like I played Bushido Blade this week. That game is still good. You
Yeah.
know,
That game still rips.
Ninja
I love
Shadow
yeah,
that man.
Darkness.
Yes.
yes,
Yes, that one. Yeah.
yeah.
Um
Uh,
Like for every stinker, or what I assume is probably a stinker now because I just haven't played it in that many years, you know. There are so many that hold up so well that they should fucking put them back out. I don't know why they don't.
yeah. Um I don't know, man. Like I think a lot of the time when I think back to the funny thing about like PS1 specifically for me is that like those standbys that like that come to everybody's mind, like Metal Gear Solid and Symphony of the Night. That's never what I think of. Like
Yeah,
this isn't me being like I'm built different or anything. I'm just saying that like a lot of the time that I spent on PS1 was like games that like were really um games that like really like kind of catered to like my kind of sensibilities, you know? Like for example, like one of the games that I always think of with PS1 is Destruction Derby all the
yeah,
time. And I've talked before about how like I've always had like a fixation on damage modeling on cars in video games. I don't know what it is, but like I've always like had a fascination with that. And I remember the first time I saw the Destruction Derby commercial on TV, like back in like 94, 95, like I blew my fucking mind. And I was like, you can do that in a video game? That's wild. And like I had to have that game.
dude, fucking Twisted Metal too, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And Twisted Metal was another one too, right? Because like I it just like it never occurred to me that there could be a game like that. Like that game was like very
Yeah,
like um it was very like it was thematically darker than any game that I'd ever played at the time.
Yeah.
And like
I feel like the closest thing we had was Road Rash, and there's like
yeah,
no comparison. They're
yeah,
completely, it's
yeah,
completely different.
yeah. But yeah, I love like that. I love like games like that.
Yeah.
There was also a game like Tom when you were talking about rhythm games, and the rhythm game that I always think of with PS1 is this game called Bust a Groove. Um, it is a game where you are dancing, like you pick a character and you dance against another character. And so basically, like you have like like these combination of button inputs that you have to put in before, like on like a timer or whatever. I don't. It's like a rhythm thing, right?
Yeah.
And so like there'd be a beat, and then you got to put in the combination of buttons before the next beat, and then your
Is it
character
like
do the move.
Parappa where it's like almost Simon?
No, because you're looking at the inputs on the screen. You're not having to
Yeah.
memorize them or anything.
Okay.
So
Well,
like
yeah, you don't memorize them in Parappa either. You see them, but
right, but like you're repeating them after like another
yeah.
guy, right? Like you're not doing that. And but like it's games like that, like the games that are like that no one like fucking talks about that like I'm always thinking about when it comes to PS1.
Dude, Jedi Power Battles.
Dude, I remember you let me borrow that game.
It
God,
was fucking sick.
yeah, I think we were in eighth or ninth grade, and
It's the best thing to come out of the Phantom Menace was that game.
yeah, like that was like because you got to play as
Racer.
Obi-Wan, you got to play
Yeah.
as
Mace Windu,
Mace
man.
Windu, you
Yeah.
got to play as Qui-Gon, Plo
Yeah.
Koon, and one other person. That was a good game.
Yeah, that game was awesome.
It was a really good game.
I've also I've been thinking about going back and playing through as many of the Star Wars games as I can.
Oh, dude, so many of them are still good. So many of them are still good.
I bet Power Battles still holds up.
Yeah,
But-
dude.
So it's kind of because before I got onto PS1 and PS2 games, I was watching a lot of different videos on the different lightsaber battle forms
Yeah.
and like what's inspired by them, like different ideas, like who was masters and stuff with them. So I was
Oh,
on that
no.
for like a whole month. And then so now I'm like, oh, well, I want to play all the Star Wars games and see if they actually give each person like different like battle styles. That'd be
Yeah.
great. So I'm doing this for research purposes.
Shanae, let me tell you about a game on the PlayStation 1 called Star Wars Masters of Terrascasi.
Don't play that game. Do not.
It
play
is
that
a
game.
Star Wars fighting game.
Don't play that game.
It is very bad. But I don't know because I'm not that into Star Wars, but there's something from that game, that horrible game, that made it into canon.
I'm gonna look.
I don't know what, but I will let you know.
What is it called?
Masters of Terrascasi.
Okay.
I don't know how to spell it.
That's fine. It has accent marks over everything.
Yeah. But it is god awful. Don't play that. Play Tekken 3 instead.
The titular master was a character named Arden Lin, who was recruited by Emperor Palpatine to take revenge on the rebel leaders responsible for destroying the Death Star.
Yeah, Papa Palpatine.
Yeah, go for Papa Palpatine.
He loves it when you call him Big Papa.
Yeah. But there's a lot of Star Wars games, like especially on PS1 and PS2, that are still fucking awesome, man. Republic Commando, shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course, like the OG Battlefront games too.
Yeah.
I mean, I do wonder how much they actually have held up, and how much our videos of the new versions of it are now implanted in my mind when I think of them.
So I liked the PSP Battlefront games, and those are coming to PlayStation like next month or this month. A lot of people are mad that it's not like the proper console versions, But like I like those PSP games a lot.
Actually, so me and Berta were just talking about before the show what we're gonna do for because normally we do a joint Christmas present together. And so we've been talking about how this year we'd buy the PS5. We're like, hey, are we still
Are we doing this? Is this happening?
It's gonna sound a little crazy.
We might be getting PS5 soon.
Nice, dude.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I think if I'll get the God of War game on it. That'll be the first game I get on it.
Right on.
Well, you want that Hogwarts game too, right?
That's not coming out until February of 2023,
No.
supposedly, if it still stays on schedule.
Yeah, getting that hog.
Yeah, I want that Hoggy Hogwarts.
Yeah, as far as PS2, like there are games I really love that are from that generation, but like specific to PS2, it's like Jack and Daxter. I love those games. Ratchet and Clank, you know.
Yeah.
As far as like games that were specific to that console, I love like Killer 7, but that's on everything, or like CVS 2, but that's on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that's like it was also like games that are like they might have been on other stuff, but they are kind of synonymous with that platform though.
Yeah.
Like
I'd say like PS2 has the best version of Silent Hill 2, you know?
On the PS2, the first games that normally pop in my mind of like playing it, of course, Kingdom Hearts. But beyond that, Ape Escape. I fucking loved that game. I loved Ape Escape so much.
The first game I ever spent 24 hours straight playing was Ape Escape.
I've only played the first Ape Escape on PS1. I've never played the second one.
I think I played Ape Escape 3, but I'll have to like look back and see what actually when it came out.
So I recently played Ape Escape 2, and one of the things I remember about Ape Escape 2, feeling like one of the things I remember feeling when I bought it back then was that it kind of just didn't feel like it didn't have that same charm as the first Ape Escape. Like I felt like there was really something missing from it. I do feel like Ape Escape 1 is probably
starts in the very beginning on the island.
Well, my biggest thing is like when that game came out, clearly no one had like decided this is what we're using the analog stick for, you know?
Yeah, that was the first game I ever played that needed them.
Yeah, because you use it to swing it. You use it to swing your fucking net, or sword or whatever you're using. And I thought that was really interesting. But like I've played that because that was one of the first games to come out on like the new PS Plus or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I played it somewhat recently, and I think it holds up. Like it's still fun to play.
Yeah.
Same. I love the like just trying to catch him.
I guess like I'm not used to. Oh, Tom, you dropped off.
Sorry, guys. I'm getting a call.
It's okay.
Thomas,
you need to take it.
Tell them to go.
No. It'll be all right.
All right.
But like that was, but like going back to that game, it's hard, right? Because like I'm used to being able to turn the camera in in a game like that, and like you can't, and it was a very difficult adjustment for me.
I will say though, with Arceus, like I did not have this struggle with Pokemon Sword and Shield, but I am having a very hard time with that camera because you need to have it like slightly tilted towards the sky to like see the markers for like who has requests for like missions and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that's not the view I like it to be in. So I try to like, swap it when I'm just running around so I can look at everything, but also like see where like requests are. And it's just like it's a bit clunk. Sorry. Yeah. But also of course like Spyro, Crash, on those two consoles.
I didn't know until just now that let me make sure. Sorry, PS2 got a Nights into Dreams release. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Katamari on PS2, right? Like even though Katamari has made its way to other platforms, be that Xbox or Nintendo eventually, right? Like I always felt like the PlayStation analog sticks were the best for that game because it feels like you're driving a tank, and it makes sense for them to be like, level. Yeah.
So there's like Shanae was talking about like kind of like looking at games through the lenses of nostalgia, and there are some games that I would like to go back to see if they're like to see if those games are like what I remember. And also like some games that like I kind of just like, you ever like want to go back to a game because you just couldn't beat the game as a kid, and now that you're an adult, you just like you kind of want to like conquer it.
Yeah.
What? 100%. Oh man, like I told a game to get fucked once after I beat it.
Yeah, my sister and I had a conversation about that like in the last couple of weeks. You know,
So there was a game on the PS1 called Death Trap Dungeon. I could never beat that game. That game was way too hard for me as a child. I just could not do it. I think some of the things that like kind of eluded me were the concept of like needing certain kinds of weapons or items to pass certain enemies or obstacles. Like that whole concept like eluded me at the time.
yeah.
So like I would like to actually revisit that game, not because I think it might be good, but just because I want to finish that game, honestly.
I'd like to give Bloody Roar a second chance because, like, in recent years, I've heard FGC people talking pretty highly about those games, and
Was
like,
that
I
not
just
the case
never,
at the
I
time?
never. Oh, I mean, I don't know, but like, I just don't have much experience with them. You know, like, I'd
Yeah.
like to actually fuck around with them and see what it's all about.
Do you remember the name of that helicopter game that you and your sister failed at?
Yeah, it was an NES game called Infiltrator.
Yeah, y'all should play that together again.
Yeah,
See if you can just get it off the ground.
I know.
I bet you could figure it out now, but between the two of you.
Yeah, maybe.
Hopefully.
Um,
Yeah, I wonder if 50-year-old Shanae can beat Last of Us since 30-year-old Shanae couldn't.
Oh yeah, that was funny. Uh, Shout out to Fighting Force. Fighting Force was great. You know.
yeah. Man, the thing, Fighting Force was like so good, and like Fighting Force 2 was such a letdown for me.
Yeah.
I think actually for a lot of people, but yeah, Fighting Force was really cool. I remember I never owned that game, but I rented it, and one of the cool things was there are certain weapons in the game that if you're not strong enough, you can't use them. Like the big strong guy could like take an engine out of a car and use it like to bludgeon people.
Yeah.
That's dope. More of that, please.
Sure.
I don't think I ever actually beat Fatal Frame. I think because I can't imagine that I had the patience for it.
I know I didn't beat
I
that
mean,
game.
did you just get too spooked, Shanae? You can be honest. You got too spooked.
I mean, I jump pretty easily. So,
Yeah.
but like even if I jump, I'm just like still like, all right, I'm still in it. I just ignore the fact that my body can't control itself. I'm going to be
Sure.
startled. Like Birdo will even announce before he gets into a room, and I will still jump if I see him out of the corner of my eye. Like I don't know, but yeah, I just don't think I had the patience because I think I probably just got frustrated because like you couldn't just run through that game.
Yeah. Yeah, watch out for them ghosts. I remember our friend Jimmy and I were playing Fatal Frame 2 on the PS2. Like this is back in '05, I think. And it was like really late at night, and so we were both susceptible to the
Oh,
spooks. And like,
well, they'll get
because you know how like you can only see the ghosts when you're looking at them through the camera.
Yeah.
And so like he brings up the cam, like he was looking around like trying to figure out where to go, and he like pulls up the camera, and like right in front of us is the broken neck lady, and like she's just standing there with her neck all broken, and then like we both scream, and Jimmy gets so scared that he throws the controller at the TV.
Did he break the TV?
I mean, this is a CRT, so you
No.
can't break those things. But it was very
There's
funny.
plenty of angry privileged kids that probably did.
They'd have to be of gargantuan strength to accomplish that feat. But
Or picking up some like heavy metal object,
sure, maybe,
like a spike of some sort.
sure.
They have the
But
tool.
those games are spooky. I still I wish listed whatever the most recent one is, because I'm thinking maybe I'll be able to play it, but maybe not because I'm pretty spooked. I'm pretty easily spooked these days. But did you guys ever play a game called Nightmare Creatures?
Yeah, a
Mm,
lot of it, but yeah, I remember the cover very distinctly.
Yeah.
But
I thought that game was good at the time. I love that game. I'd like to see if I hate it now. And like I looked at some screenshots, I was like, this seems like I might hate it now. But I don't know. I like the games. I like games like that. I feel like PlayStation 1 especially had like a lot of games that like didn't who like that kind of lived and died on that platform. That like I would
For
like to see
sure.
come back. Not
You
come
know
back,
what?
but like revisit it, I guess.
I just remember I can't remember which Final Fantasy it was. But just like on the it was a PS1 one and it had like 4 discs in it. It was the first time I saw like a game in like multiple jewel cases. So like where it like
Might
what
have
was
been
like really
Well,
seven.
I mean, 7, 8, and 9 were on multiple discs, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So it wouldn't have been one
But
of those.
uh but yeah. But I just remember being amazed. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I think it was 7. But yeah, just it was a big stack of them and I was just very impressed. Now I know that that's like it was now by now it's very annoying. Whenever it was still happening on like Xbox 360, I was like, let's get our shit together, guys. We don't need
it
this.
is no, there is a game out on current gen that's multiple discs. I can't remember what it is though.
What game? Ah, is it on like it's on PS5?
I think it's on Xbox, but I'm not positive.
That reminds me of the time I watched Titanic on VHS, and
The multiple VHS tapes.
Yes.
they don't tell you when it's time to change the tape. You just think that
Yeah,
you think that it's a scene transition for a while, and then you realize, oh, I need to put the other tape in. So,
yeah.
Um,
but yeah, I had like I think like a lot of my PS1 games were games that like didn't weren't like a lot like really popular. I think they were just games that like they jump out at me like when I'm in the store and I'm like that seems like something I'd like, especially like a lot of wrestling games. Like there's this game called Power Moves
Yeah.
Pro Wrestling that I really loved. Um
I
that
liked a lot of the popular stuff,
yeah,
but same as you, a lot of the, buying games based off of the box art or whatever.
yeah. Um
or what like everybody else at school is playing.
Yeah.
I had a friend in I guess I want to say it was the 8th grade. It might have been the 8th 7th or 8th grade, and he let me borrow like this like binder of PS1 games. And I was just like, you just let me borrow all your games. But like because of that, I got to play a lot of games that like I'd never heard of. And I got to play games like Zero Divide. I got to play Tobal number 1. Like just like a lot of games that I'd never heard of. And then Tom would always let me borrow games too. Like he let me borrow this game called Danger Girl that I hated. And then he
How dare you, Thomas?
but Tom also let me borrow Street Fighter Alpha 3, which was
Yeah,
a
Alpha
lot
3
of
on PS1 was really good.
fun. I spent hours with that game. So,
And like so many of those Capcom fighters were kind of busted on PS1, but that one
yeah,
was better than, I mean, not better than the arcade, but more featured than like more, feature full
yeah.
I don't know
than
how many
the arcade version.
I didn't realize how many Beat Mania games there were on it.
Beat Mania, yeah.
Uh,
Well, and then even like what is it, Piano Mania and DDR, like those are all Bomani games.
Um, Tekken 2. I remember playing Tekken 2 for the first time on at home because again, I've told you guys about how like I would always be scared to play fighting games in the arcade because like some bigger kid's gonna come by and beat me and there goes my quarters. And
Yeah,
I used to like look at the the Tekken 2 attract screen for like like 10 minutes at a time because I was like, I'm never gonna be able to play this game, but it's sure nice to look at. And then Tekken 2 came out on PS1 and like I lost my mind because like now I can play as much as I want. Don't have to worry about some big kid coming after me and like
yeah.
taking like
orders.
yeah, so which was that was the case with like any fighting game that came to consoles. It was just like that was when I jumped into the game finally. Um but like I also feel like there were like a lot of fighting games that did come to the PS1 that were like not especially remarkable, but I still had fun with, probably because like I'm at least especially at the time, like I wasn't particularly great at fighting games. I just like fighting games that were like that I thought were interesting. Like there was one called Iron and Blood, where there's like two factions. There was like a dwarf guy and a Dracula man, and like and like they all had like different moves and like their own level. It was really neat, you know. But I also played this game called Cardinal Sin, which I feel like is probably problematic by today's standards now. Like it was like mildly transphobic. That game was. But I feel like the PS1 got like a lot of fighting games that like kind of just were released on that console and then like never talked about again.
It has definitely unique versions of a lot of popular fighting games, you know, like a lot of the Marvel Versus series that's on PS1, like you can't tag, you just can't tag, you
Yeah.
know, which is kind of lame, but I was still excited to play them, you know.
I mean, I've
The
told you about like Mortal Kombat 3 on
Yeah,
PS1.
yeah,
So
the original Rival Schools, you know, like that game was fucking bad, but yeah. I don't know. There are like weird PS1 games that I always wanted to try
mhm.
just to see, like the PS1 version of Diablo or Doom. You know?
So I had the PS1. I had Doom on PS1.
Yeah,
Um, it was. I can definitely say that it was better than both the SNES and 32X versions.
sure,
That's what I'll
sure.
say. Um, but like so the first truly open world game that I remember playing was a game called Urban Chaos. And also to date, one of like five uh games that I've played where you play like where the lead character is played by a black woman. Um but like basically the game is like she's like a rookie cop in some like super corrupt city, and basically you are trying to take down this like this gang that is also kind of a cult, and you and so you basically you go throughout this like you're in these areas that I guess it's really more open zone than open world, but it's the areas were bigger than I was used to at the time. And like it had like a really actually like a really good like hand-to-hand combat system. Um and you know, I've always wanted that game to come back because I really feel like even now, because I recently revisited it, and like even now I feel like that game had a lot of potential. Um and then I remember being really excited that being really excited when I heard that Urban Chaos was coming out for PS2, but it was like a completely different game.
Yeah,
Um but yeah, Urban Chaos was like a really good game. And also, you guys ever play a game called Fear Effect?
yeah. I don't know that I ever played it or not. There was like two of them, and then they recently released another one that no one
Yeah.
liked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like Fear Effect was kind of a time and place kind of thing. Uh, it just doesn't seem like the concept of that game holds up very well. But I remember at the time I thought it was really cool because I'd never played a game that looked like that, because like these like cell shaded characters, and I was like it looks like I'm playing an anime kind of, and like and so but like it was like cell shaded characters versus against pre rendered backgrounds. Um, and it was really cool, but you know I don't think that game was something that I would actually play now,
yeah,
because it's a survival horror game that came out when at the time even then better survival horror games existed.
yeah.
So
Shout out to Tetris Plus. Like my sister and I played so much Tetris Plus as kids. Uh, so like that's the one where there's like a little safari man,
oh
and
yeah,
he's
you showed me
trying
that
to
game.
get to yeah, he's trying to escape to a door, and there's these spikes coming down.
Yeah,
So you have to clear out Tetris blocks fast enough for him to get through that
yeah, you
door.
gotta save him.
We had a neighbor whose mom like missed a week of work because she stayed home playing Tetris Plus.
Fucking rad.
Yeah.
That is fucking cool. What a
It's a good
cool
lady.
mom. Yeah, it's a good woman. That's a good woman right there.
I'm glad she procreated.
Sure.
Sure.
Um, I took a day off of work to play Callisto Protocol.
Berto took a day off work because it was his birthday and also he wanted to play Midnight Suns. So,
Yeah. I've not taken the day off of work to play a video game since the Shadow of the Colossus remake came out.
Yeah.
Like, I need to do that.
yeah, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, like I'm also thinking about the fact that like I'm like, oh man, my birthday and anniversary are this month also, and
Yeah.
they're both on work days. So
Yeah.
maybe
Maybe
I
with
should.
Street Fighter 6, I'll take the day off. We'll see.
Yeah.
Do take a half day off on each.
Also, you know what? I still love the bouncer. People keep trying to tell me how bad that game was. Nope, that game still rules. I still love it. The bouncer is awesome, and I hope with all my heart that one day I will be vindicated and there'll be another bouncer game. But I love the bouncer. I love playing it. I love all those characters.
You know,
So
I hear people talk pretty highly about the bouncer. The biggest like negative that I hear about it is like it's basically a demo. Like that's how short that game is. You know.
You always gotta leave them wanting more,
yeah,
Thomas. Don't
yeah.
you
Sure.
understand?
You leave a little
That's
to the
Sure.
imagination, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's the mystery that really
Oh,
brings
and then
it.
shout out to Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero is great.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I have a negative association with Guitar Hero, right? Like because of I bought
The
that.
people who play it.
Well, no. So I bought that game at a time when I was living with like two roommates, and they set it like we set it up in like the living room so like everybody could play it, and they were really, really, really dedicated to mastering "Smoke on the Water" by Deep Purple. And so I had heard the opening riff to "Smoke on the Water" hundreds of times
That's
in the course of a
hilarious.
week. And like I have like I have like a negative association with that game because of that. But
Yeah, and like you know, clearly Guitar Hero like ripped off Gitadora and all that, but like it was, I still had so much fun with it. I always forget if it was two or three, but there's one of them that we played a lot of.
yeah.
And then yeah, Beat Mania of course is fucking great. I wish Konami would give you an easy way to play that shit now.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I do like also the big thing about both the PS1 and PS2 for me anyway is that like I don't know, even with all the games there, I think that a big thing for me also is that it's just like a when I was really playing those systems a lot, like it was just like a simpler time in my life.
Yeah,
And like it makes me feel like really like so when like when I think about playing any of these games, I'm also thinking about like, you know, being a kid and like or being a teenager and like how easy things were back then and like so like there's always going to be like a positive association with those games for me because of like, you know, I miss those days, you know.
yeah. Also, like I think PlayStation One was my first CD player.
Yeah.
I'm not positive, but I think it was.
Yeah.
You know, I know PS2 was most of my friends' first DVD player. You know,
Same.
yeah,
Oh
um
man.
so
Yeah. I remember my cousin had the I forget which PS1 or PS2 that came with its own like TV with it. So it had to
oh
be like
that's
PS2. It
that
was like a
PS1
whole,
had that.
that's dope.
but yeah, it
Yeah.
was like a whole mobile thing. But she only used it to watch DVDs, and I was fucking
Whack.
pissed.
Whack.
Yeah.
Whack. That is so whack.
I was so jealous.
Yeah.
But was there anything else about PS1 or PS2 games that y'all wanted to add that we didn't address?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. You know, like there's nothing else to talk about with those ever.
Ever again? Not, not never.
uh
What about you, Ryan?
I think you know, I'm thankful not to be buying memory cards anymore.
Oh, yes. But also I I remember I would accidentally delete. I think like a couple times I remember I accidentally deleted stuff that I did not mean to. Or if like you are like going to a friend's house with your memory card to play, and then you
Yeah.
accidentally take theirs, and so now they have yours. Oh, that was a
Like
Yeah.
fucking
I
situation.
remember memory cards. I remember games would always tell you on the back how many blocks you need
Yeah.
to save your game. How many blocks you need, you know.
Yeah,
And that was easy for me to understand because I had no concept of kilobytes or megabytes or gigabytes. Blocks I understand, you know.
it's so simple.
Also, I loved how on both the PS1 and PS2 the save files were animated.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And sometimes and like on the PS2, sometimes when you deleted something, it also had a little animation for you for deleting it. It's like
PS2, the more saves you had on there, the more little columns there were on
yeah,
that screen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also the like the patiently waiting and hoping that second PlayStation logo pops up when you put your disc in, like hoping that game loads up. You know,
Yes.
because I remember there was some times where like I would be waiting for that I would put a PS2 game in. I'm like, please let it load, and that PS2 go whoop, and I'm like, all right, we're good, we're good.
Or then it didn't. You take it out, start like on your like shirt or whatever, cleaning the disc off. Just it's scratched to fucking hell, but you're just
Sure.
still trying.
Uh,
But yeah, at least that was my experience.
a lot of people trying to sell me disc lens cleaners.
Mm.
You
Or like
remember those fucking disc cleaners where you had to like put the thing in, and it was always made out of cheap plastic, and you got to crank the thing, and
Yeah.
you feel like you're doing more damage to the disc than good.
And you might have been,
Yeah.
but
I had the goop that was like I guess like just like almost like liquid bubble gum. It was just like it was like really thick,
I know
and
what you're talking about.
you would leave it there, and then you would buff it out, but you would have to leave
Right.
it there for so long it'd basically be like dried over. So you're just like rubbing
It's the same.
Play-Doh all
You,
over.
it's like you can do that with toothpaste, apparently.
Oh yeah, no, I
Yeah.
remember that. I remember being amazed, or not being amazed, but just being like thankful with like Blu-ray discs with PS3 because they were so much harder to scratch. Like you had to
Yeah.
be almost intentional with that shit.
Yeah.
Also, like I think back to playing online on the PS2 and like what like a different experience that was because it wasn't like a unified platform or anything, right? Like it's not like
It was
you could
per game.
yeah, it's not like you could tell like who's playing what or message people or invite people from like another game. So, but I do miss those old Capcom online lobbies with Monster Hunter and Resident Evil Outbreak. People got wild in those fucking lobbies. I know that. People were very creative with how explicit they were with the character limits on that shit. People were fucking perverts on Resident Evil Outbreak, but game was still pretty cool.
I mean, like the horn dog's gonna horn dog. I don't know
So
what to tell you.
I got all these PlayStation games that I can't play anymore ever again. That's kind of bugs me a little bit. But
I mean, well, there's a will, there's a way. But yeah, if you want to find us on something different than what you're listening to us on, we are on most podcast apps like iTunes, Google Play, or Google Podcast, whatever their thing is. Stitcher. We also have a Discord that will be linked. We also have YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces. And bye, guys.
Bye.